Because I can see one big thing right now. They just shut down non-essential construction.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
We're in a housing crisis.
Yeah.
We need to build as many houses as possible.
It's a factor of when you have limited supply, which is being restricted by the government, prices go up.
Very simple.
That's it. It's supply and demand. Our real estate market is literally exploding in terms of pricing because of our government. All right. So on today's podcast, we are going to be talking about how Doug Ford is fucking everything up.
Yeah. Great talk. Like what world are we in right now?
I know. This is crazy. So Doug Ford and Ontario, the Liberal government.
Powers that be.
Yeah. So I actually responded to a comment today on a house for rent on Facebook. And the person said, actually, I don't even know if I can find it.
What's the gist of it?
So yeah, I'll explain like what it, let me give you the gist of it. So the context was, it was a smaller home. I think it was like maybe a 2 or 3 bed home. I don't even remember. It was smaller, right? And they're asking like $1,800 or $2,000 a month in rent. And everybody's like, fucking scam. You're gonna go to hell. Like you're fucking ripping everybody off. This yada 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 yada. And I wrote back, and this person actually was like, this particular person that I responded to or replied to, she said, "You're the reason," meaning the landlord. "You're the reason why there's so many homeless people in Windsor right now."
Yeah, definitely.
So then I responded, "Actually, no. It's our Liberal government and their policies that's creating this housing market. It's not the landlords."
Of course. Yeah.
So we're going to get into why it's actually happening.
People have a misconception that these socialist policies and just giving everybody money and even the universal basic income that's on the table, that's a good thing for people that are poor and at the low end of the spectrum. It's actually the opposite. It actually, in my opinion, is going to make the rich even richer.
Yeah.
Because that money is going to find its way into assets, and it's going to find its way to Amazon and Walmart and McDonald's, and it's going to inflate prices of everything. And eventually those poor people, even though they're getting a handout, they're going to end up even poorer, and that gap is going to go even wider. And
they're going to, again, it's simple inflation. You think that, you're on the lower end of the spectrum here in terms of earnings. When all of this stuff starts coming to fruition, it's already happening, number one. And we're going to get into the housing market and how it's happening already now. Like, I think it's hilarious when I see these reports coming out and they're like, oh, inflation like isn't like necessarily a concern yet. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So what's actually happening is when you see inflation, the way that what we're talking about, where people are going to start getting handouts on the lower end of the spectrum of earnings.
It's coming.
What do you think's going to happen to the price we pay for things?
Yeah,
it's going to.
What happened when they raised the minimum wage to $15 overtime in Ontario? What happened to the price of your hamburger?
Oh, it doubled.
It doubled.
Yeah,
right?
it doubled.
So what happened to the price of real estate? Right,
Doubled.
like because now people have more affordability, it just drives prices up over time.
Yep.
Now, what ends up happening to the wealth gap when you give people at the low end of the spectrum money is the wealth gap gets wider. And people when the Liberals or whoever comes out and says that they can fix economic inequality, that's like a huge red flag to me. Like, no, you can't.
Can't do it.
The government isn't good at anything.
They're pandering. That's
They're pandering.
They're pandering to the people on the lower end of the spectrum, and they're eating it up.
They manipulate them. And those people at the lower end of the spectrum, or even the middle class, who foot the bill, by the way.
Yeah, and by the way, I even add to that, it's the middle class that's getting fucked the most.
Oh, big time.
By far.
Big time.
By far.
Yeah.
So just when you think like, the government's getting, the government doesn't,
here's the government's number one goal: to get reelected and stay in power.
Yeah.
And they're going to pander to who they need to pander to. They're going to create whatever platform they need to create to stay in power. And generally speaking, that is pandering to the middle class and the poor, right? And the point here is that, they're falling for it.
I know.
And you're the one, who do you think, do you think is going to be paying the increased taxes for this? The middle class, right? Like
middle class
you
all
can't
day
tax
long.
corporations.
No.
You can't tax somebody that has 3 shelter corporations and whatever else, right? Like, so the burden will fall onto the middle class. And then the rich will get richer because that money's going to find its way into assets like real estate.
And another point too, the wealthier people have the ability to pivot and they have the ability to move. And
the capacity, the mental, emotional, and financial capacity that you've developed as being an entrepreneur for years, whatever the market gives you, you're going to be able to take advantage of it, right? And the poor and middle class that are just living their lives and don't really have either the enterprising mentality to do that or they don't want to, which is fine. That's fine. But they're the ones that are going to be absolutely smashed. That's a good point.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
a really good point.
Our government is coming after the middle class.
But they're doing it under the guise of the opposite, coming after the rich.
Exactly.
And that's why it sells.
It's not the case.
That's why it sells.
Yeah, it's not the case. Exactly. So,
and that's why, like, I've been in the middle class my whole life. And that's why no matter how much I saved or how much overtime I worked or how much this or how much that, I could never get ahead. Like, you can't get ahead of this game. And I thought, like, I was the best saver. I was the best. Like, I had a little bit of money in stocks. I had X amount of money in the bank. But, like, prices of everything are going up faster than I can even save and maintain, right? So you're just constantly stuck in the rat race, right? And then they promise you this pension. By the way, you know, my federal government pension, I projected it out if I was to retire after 35 years, is like $3,500 a month or $4,000 a month or something like that. In 30 years, like that, with inflation, that money's going to be like, I'm going to be broke basically, right? You'll be able to go on your 1 trip a year. Like you'll be able to live a decent life and whatever, but it's not any sort of financial freedom. And this promise is like these golden handcuffs that keep you trapped in this, generally job that's unfulfilling or whatever the case is, with this future promise of some sort of freedom, but it's not really ever freedom because prices are just going up so quickly
because of
government policy.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at something like a state like Texas, right? Let's juxtapose the mentalities here. Texas is a very Republican state, and they're very capitalist, right? What did you find when you looked there with zoning rules, right?
Yeah, so they have like very loose zoning rules that allows development.
Build whatever you want, wherever you want. Pretty much. Build towers.
Yeah, almost.
Like it's easy to build.
Yeah,
it's very easy to build.
It's very easy to build. There's a lot less red tape. And when you have less red tape, what ends up happening is it increases competition, and competition
is key.
Yeah, competition is key.
It's deflationary.
Yeah,
competition is what keeps prices down. If
it keeps prices down, it keeps quality up.
If you don't if you don't have competition, you devolve
for sure
the business world. And Canada is notorious for no 100%. Competition.
Yep,
they support
cell phones, like our cell phone market. Yep,
Bombardier, the airlines.
Yep.
They subsidize everything. They limit competition, and that's why they always have to step in to bail these companies out. Because it's like if you're raising your child and you just keep giving your child handouts and don't teach them how to frickin' compete in the world, they're going to grow up to be bums. Like they're not going to be able to compete in the real world. That's why you have to be careful how you raise your child. The same thing goes with business, right? You give people handouts, and they're going to rely on that government to survive, right?
Sure.
Like it's human nature.
100%.
And the same thing goes when you're at the low end of the economy and people are giving you handouts. It keeps you oppressed because it keeps you from raising yourself up. It keeps you from taking that step. It keeps you on the couch. It keeps you watching Netflix. And they've got everybody fooled for the most part. Now, the question is, how is this going to, without getting too political, how is this going to impact the real estate market? Because I can see one big thing right now. They just shut down non-essential construction. That's insane. We're in a housing crisis. We need to build as many houses as possible. This is going to take a decade to catch up without this.
Yeah, so there's a couple factors, even going back to that comment from that woman that I responded to, how she thinks it's the landlords and it's actually not, it's government policy. So right now, they're shutting down construction, they're restricting supply chain, and there's all kinds of red tape for development and even construction. So while everybody's shorthanded right now because they can't go into the office, shit's not getting done, permits are being drawn out like crazy. Literally, our real estate market is literally exploding in terms of pricing because of our government. Not because contractors are getting more expensive, not because realtors are trying to,
drive prices up.
Fuck you up and be, misleading with pricing or trying to do these strategies. Sure, there are strategies to, increase competition and on listings and stuff like that, but it's not to the extent where it would increase values by hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not happening. And then it's also not the case of the landlords renting these properties for exorbitant rates because they're just greedy. It's a factor of when you have limited supply, which is being restricted by the government, prices go up.
Very simple.
And that's it. It's supply and demand. There's still people that still want to move. If not anything, maybe even less now than prior times. There might be more investors in the market looking to get in on it because there's like so much hype about the real estate market right now because it's exploding year over year. That's causing this frenzy, but it wouldn't be exploding year over year if the government could get their shit together and stop all this bullshit.
Yeah, tons of misplaced blame. And if you don't understand these dynamics, you can't take advantage of them. I'm not here to complain. I'm here to tell you what's happening so that you can understand it and then take advantage of it. Yeah. When there's an asset in short supply and you can foresee that this supply is going to be in short for years to come, then that tells me, okay, that's a safe asset class to get into. But if you're sitting there on the sidelines and saying, oh, I hate this and I hate that, and it's the landlord's fault, and you're misplacing the blame, you can't really take advantage of it and jump on the trend. Yeah. That's the key here. Now, so when we have these exploding real estate prices, like this is wild what's happening right now. On top of they haven't changed their immigration policy, by the way. They don't care about Canadian citizens. No. And that's what I want people to understand. Yeah. They care about bringing in as many immigrants as possible because they're going to vote Liberal. That's my honest opinion. Yep. They get up there and pander and say, hey, we are doing everything we can about affordable housing. We want the next generation to be able to afford homes. But what they actually do, we've talked about this before, is the exact opposite. Yep. And if you don't see that, you're blind. Whatever. Sure. Absolutely. So we have that huge crisis there. You have the major immigration. How do we process this as an investor in Southwestern Ontario? Like what do you do here if you're looking to buy real estate or whatever? How do you process this?
It's becoming more of a buy and hold scenario and more of a speculative market than anything. I don't even want to say speculative because at this point we have such a shortage.
If we define speculative as not fundamentals, which is cash flow, and you're speculating on only appreciation, then yes, it is. Yeah.
But the problem that I have with it now is like it's almost not even speculative because like there's such a shortage on supply right now that it'll take years to catch up. So how speculative could that even be?
It's you see what I mean? To a certain extent, it's.
But the one issue, not even the one issue, the main issue that I have with our market is that, and I've been saying this to you for forever, ever since this market's been going this way, is that we're basing our market off immigration, and I don't like it. I don't like the fact that our real estate market is increasing like dramatically based off of that metric.
Based off of immigration, socialist policies, and very limited supply with a ton of red tape.
These are the things that I don't actually like. I don't like this. This is what I do like is, a Florida scenario where there's actually job creation. There's migration into the state.
Let's talk like massive job creation.
Like massive.
Big business, like Oracle, like major Fortune 500 companies, multi-billion-dollar, multinational companies. Those are the fundamentals that I want to invest on.
Yeah. And I wish I could say that about Windsor and Southwestern Ontario, but it's just not the case.
Now, we've seen that you can make money even with those socialist policies. Like, it's not like you can't make money.
You can almost make more money with those socialist policies.
You honestly probably can, because even like Florida's market, for instance, is so big and it's so spread out and there's so much development that prices don't rise very much because it's such a capitalist environment. That's changing a little bit now. I think it's actually like blowing up.
They're getting so much activity down there.
People are moving and companies are moving because they're tired of socialist policies.
Exactly.
And this is what people don't understand as well. When you over-govern people, especially entrepreneurial people, they will leave. And when you overtax people, they will go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They will, people like yourself, you're innovative. You think outside the box. You're going to find a way to set up shop somewhere else. And Florida and Texas and those states have created the environments for people to come in droves.
Now the shitty part about Canada though is we operate more on the federal level and not by like the province level. So the states operates more at the state level versus the federal level.
A lot more independence.
So yeah, they're a lot more independent on the state level. So the problem that we have here in Canada is that we're just all fucked no matter where we go.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
seriously,
or the people that aren't capable of making moves.
Yes.
So and this is what I can't stand when I see that shit online, and I just want to shake the people that think it's the people at the top create, like not the government top, it's the people like wealthy people at the top creating these scenarios, and it's fucking not.
No, it's not.
It's like we as Canadians have our heads so fucking far up our ass that it's really odd. Like we actually think that the government is like, can't people understand that what the government is doing is exact opposite to what they're saying they want for us? Yeah. It's unreal.
It's so
and
true.
if you use the real estate market as a perfect example, how they're saying that they're for affordable housing and what they're actually doing is completely different.
Grossly manipulated.
Like grossly, you are manipulated to the fullest. There's so many things that they're doing, restricting, like they're man, it's so crazy. It drives me crazy, man. Like I can't even I almost feel like I can't even talk about it.
The platform of, again, taking from the rich and giving to the poor as some cure-all for social inequality is false at its core. Yeah. And what I see out there though, like even talking to people that are very close to me, they see it as the opposite. They look at the government as this benevolent, godlike entity that's coming to save people and fix inequality. And I'm like, no, this has been done before, guys. It doesn't work. Like human nature doesn't allow that. Like human nature doesn't allow one big lump of equal people. Like whatever. And the way I put it is this economically, like in a capitalist system, yeah, there is a large wealth gap, right? There always is, there always will be, by the way. But in a capitalist society, that wealth gap, like the lower rises up, right? Like this. In a socialist society, everybody maintains a lower, like you're in a lower cesspool, let's call it, because nothing's being raised up, right? And that's the best way that I think that I can put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a capitalist society will actually pull the lower income earners up with it.
The lower income earners of today still have a pretty good life. They have iPhones. Yeah. They have a pretty decent little place to live. They have, they eat well, they this, that, whatever. Even though they're making minimum wage, it's still relatively, it's still a pretty decent
and that's a proponent of a capitalism. Somewhat. Yeah. That's a proponent of capitalism, even though we don't live in a capitalist society necessarily. That's a proponent of capitalist goods and services. You know what it's a proponent
of? The USA. Honestly, they're the only true capitalist country in the world. They, they've outsourced a lot of their stuff to China, which is a capitalist idea in and of itself, which keeps the prices of all those goods and services low. They're the most innovative
and
country
allows
in the world.
the lower income earners the ability to take advantage of them. So even someone below the poverty level now is living better than someone even 50 years ago.
Like that was at the high end.
That was at the high end. Like,
exactly.
We've got TV, we've got internet, we've got air conditioning. Like my dad grew up with no fucking air conditioning. Like just dumb shit like that and black and white TV. Like
everybody's got a car. Everybody's got
their house was shit. Like it just simple things like that. This is like people need to get out of this mindset of like, yes, I want the government to come and bail me out. I want the government to supplement me. I want the handout. Like you're gonna be way worse off. And what's happening because of it? You're gonna be kept. Like this finger here is just gonna be fucking pushing you. This thumb like pushing you the fuck right down by the government if you want that to happen. Just nonstop. You'll never be able to climb out of that hole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about what's going to, what do I see happening here in the future? First of all, the next generation of home buyers, good luck.
They're fucked.
Seriously, good luck. And this has already happened in many other countries. Most people,
California, New York, even this is already happening
states and countries
in democratic states.
You can't afford to ever buy a home.
Yeah.
people think, oh, prices can't keep going up here. They can't keep. Yes, they can. Look across the world. This has already played out. Look at Hong Kong. Look at these other cities because of these. There's just too much demand.
What's crazy is we should maybe even pull this up. There was like this graph that shows how fast in the last 10 years, Canada has been the fastest housing market, or has had the fastest housing market growth.
Appreciation by far. Like
by far.
Yeah, triple the US
who
or
is
something.
First?
Canada.
No, but I mean, like, who's still like among the most expensive? What is it? Like Switzerland or something?
No, like Hong Kong is like one of those. Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia is very expensive.
I got you. And very restrictive. Like, and look at those countries and the way that they operate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly the same shit. We're following suit, and you know,
this hasn't been based on like, if you look, I think the graph showed Canada at 150% appreciation over the past decade or something like that, and the US was like 50%.
Yeah,
and the US has the biggest corporations in the world, the most powerful economy. Like, they should be theoretically, they should be the ones that have grown the most, but they haven't because they have enough supply, and historically they have.
Yeah, and they're exactly
historically.
So we're gonna get into like what's going on over there right now. So what we're seeing in Canada, we're just ahead of the curve now here.
Yeah.
So the US with the Biden administration is fucking shit up over there too. With with their immigration policies, with their restrictive government red tape, all that shit. Which
the Green New Deal.
Yep, the Green New Deal.
People understand. You need to understand when you. I talked to my brother about this the other day. I'm like, oh, this government, they're going to tax everybody. He says, no, there's not. Their platform doesn't talk about taxations. I'm like, they're going to tax you in other ways.
Yeah.
The Green New Deal is a huge tax because when you go to build something, you have to comply with these new green legislation rules. It's going to cost the builders more money, and then it's going to cost you more money. When you go to fill up at the pump, it's going to cost you more money because of the carbon tax. They're taxing you indirectly. Their platform talks about no increases of taxes, but they're doing it in subversive ways.
What they're talking about is no actual increases, like literally like to your income.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. You're getting fucked left, right, and center from different ways.
Income tax.
Yeah.
HST, everything you buy is taxed. When you sell when you die, you're taxed. Capital gains tax. Everything that you do is taxed. You're left, generally speaking, especially the middle class, you're left with very little money at the end of the year for your disposable income. And you work the most. Yeah. So it's kind of a backwards system.
They also have a massive short supply of homes. There was some sort of metric that came out, like it was just even like a couple months ago. Like maybe even like 3-4 months ago or whatever, when we started this podcast, where it was like,
oh, the US?
Where there was like 2 million or 1.9 million homes, like a shortage of 1.9 million homes. Now they're almost at 4 million. So it's doubled within like a couple months.
Yeah.
And that is a proponent of exactly what we're seeing in Canada.
Yeah.
It's so we're already socially, like we're far ahead of the US. We're far ahead, but they're slowly creeping.
Oh, big time. Big time.
They're slowly creeping.
I think the scale just tilted. They're a 51% socialist now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And 49.
Yeah. So
and we're about, I don't know, 90, 10 maybe
100. So we're not quite Venezuela yet, but we're on our fucking way.
Seriously.
So what we're seeing in the US is exactly what's happened in Canada.
Yeah.
So what's the play there? I don't know. Get in before you before it actually starts coming down the pipe. Like even in these Republican states, like at the end of the day, it's like all the big cities are blue and liberal and democratic. It's typically like outside of like the bigger cities. And even we've seen, we always talk about Texas, but the fact of the matter is Texas, they only lost, the Democrats only lost the Texas vote by 5%.
Really? Yeah.
So like they're on their way.
Yeah. And a lot of people are moving from Democratic states.
Exactly.
The scales are going to tilt.
The scales are tilting here.
And our point here is that, you can make a lot of money with socialist policies. In fact, like we said, you
probably
can make more.
To be quite honest, you could probably make more.
And what's happened in the US, right? There was the 08-09 crash, which is, again, very different than what's happening now in Canada. It was not based on fundamentals of supply and demand. They were lending money to people they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
They just recently recovered from that. They built way too much supply. Builders were going nuts at the time. And then a crash came And then it took a long time for all those extra homes to get absorbed. It took a decade.
Yeah.
Now they've all been absorbed. Yeah. Now they're short, right? Yeah. Now it's like we got to build to keep up. Now here's the problem. Then COVID hits. Yeah. And then construction comes to a halt. And then the red tape comes in. And then Biden administration, they start opening the immigration floodgates. Trump shut it down. Yeah. They're going to open it up. They've talked about it. They've already opened it up. They're going to increase red tape. They're going to increase taxation. They're going to increase the Green New Deal, or whatever they talk about, is a subversive measure of tax that's going to make everything more difficult to build. The same thing is already happening there. And it's, what's played out over a decade in Ontario specifically and all across Canada, we're at the early innings in the US. Yeah. So where it's, we're at the later innings in Canada, early innings in the US, like especially in those states.
Oh, yeah.
That are taking advantage of the shift right now.
Yeah, and here's a key point. Like, it's already happened in California, New York. Why do you think their fucking prices are so high? It's not just because they have all kinds of fucking people there.
Heavy taxation.
Yeah, exactly.
Heavy red tape.
Democratic.
Like limitations on everything. Yeah. That's the key, and that's going to filter through. Yeah. I shouldn't say it's necessarily not because of they don't have a lot of population there. Of course, that's competition will drive up prices, but not to the extreme that you've seen in like Manhattan, fucking LA, that shit. Florida is one of the most populous states in the US.
20, right? What is it? 20
something million.
Yeah, 20 something million.
More than 50% of the population of Canada.
Exactly.
Yet the same problem didn't occur. Yeah. Right. Like why? Why is that? Now California is California. I'm not going to knock. Like it's an amazing coastal state. Yeah. Whatever. I'm not going to say there's no fundamental reasons, but if you come,
Dave's over there fucking like this,
but you're
over here now, Dave, fuck off.
California. But I mean, Florida has similar, they're on the coast as well and whatever else. So, very, very interesting. Now, how do we profit off of this, right?
Yeah. Buy real estate and you understand the trend, right?
Now, what's the trend? We're like, I started a new group. If you want to join it, basically, we'll
link it. In the US Dave, what do we do? Link it in the description. We'll put it in the description below.
Yeah. I didn't even know this was going on. Like I knew generally, right? We see it, we hear it. We see blips in the news. Oh, Tesla moved to Texas, right? Yeah. I see the odd blip, but then I started digging in more deeply. And it's like, holy crap. Every day there's a new company moving from California to Texas or Miami or Florida or from New York. The banks are moving. And I'm like, holy crap, Nashville, Tennessee, they're all migrating. They're getting out of these heavy taxation states, which entrepreneurs always will. They will just move. When it makes sense, they'll set up shop somewhere else. They'll take advantage of the tax system there and whatever else. It is happening like at a pace that I can't even believe. So you combine that, right? If they're you just find out where they're moving. We just said it: Texas, Florida, Tennessee. Are there some other ones?
Like
those are the big ones.
Yeah, the big
Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah. Tennessee. Where else? I'm starting to see a lot actually in Michigan. Like the less democratic. So like the very, very like heavy blue states. People are leaving in droves.
People and businesses.
Yeah, and businesses, yeah.
So they're leaving. Where are they going? Find out where they're going, right? This is the blueprint. This isn't rocket science. Find out where they're going. We just told you where the businesses and the people are going. Yeah. Then find out where there's a shortage of supply, right? Like zoom into a couple different cities and then you can do a little bit of research there. And then
Alabama.
Then start buying real estate.
Yeah. They're not locking people down. Like it's a good way of life. Yeah. Like now, in a world that's shit right now.
Yeah. Now let me tell you this. If I owned a business in the US, let's say your Canadian protein is US protein and you're in some whatever state, California or something. And all this stuff is going, you're a free thinker and you don't want to be locked down. You don't think they should increase your taxes on people that are wealthy. You don't think they should have $1 million tax because that's what California is pushing to tax millionaires right now. What are you going to do? You're locked down. They keep increasing your taxes. They keep increasing red tape. What are you as a business owner going to do?
Oh, I'm fucking out of there.
You're out.
Oh, 100%.
So quick.
Oh, yeah.
So quick. And you're going where?
I'll make my money back in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So like people argue like, okay, well, now you got to like restart. Well, if I stay, I might as well just set up shop somewhere else where it'll pay itself off in 2-3 years.
It's just another investment.
Yeah, exactly.
And possibly a higher quality of living because
100%.
Because you're not like, I don't want to be locked down anymore. 100%. I don't want a government that restricts my freedom. And that's, man, I don't know. I've been hearing about U-Hauls lined up down, major highways of California heading to Texas.
Is that
like
right?
U-Hauls of people because they're done.
Yeah.
They're done. Like now, not everybody's going to leave, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd still invest in Cali. I'd still invest in New York. I'd still invest in Michigan or whatever blue state. I don't even know. But I do want to take advantage of this trend while it's happening until the numbers don't make sense anymore. And then, you know, just pivot from there. So super interesting.
I mean, I do think a key is, a key takeaway from this is understanding the socialist policies that
take advantage of them. Don't complain about them.
Yeah. Unless you have legitimate, like we're only, now this is real estate specific. Okay.
True.
There are scenarios where, like if I wasn't in the industries that I'm in and I'm shut, like I would be shut down.
It's a good point.
I'm not okay. Like that would hurt. Like that would be a major problem.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So the scenario for me, you know, being shut down, like completely outweighs me trying to take advantage of socialist policies so I can buy real estate.
True.
But if your goals are in real estate, I mean, socialist policies from the government will, no matter, like it's pretty evident now that they will continue to increase values because of their policies.
They restrict.
That's it. They restrict shit.
Too much. They restrict supply too much, and they give money to everybody. Yeah. And that money just finds its way into assets. It always does, right? So
it inflates everything. Not only just goods and services. It just goods and services. You need to build a house, building materials. What do you think happens when a house, an average home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 4-bed, 2-bath, whatever, when that house now costs $500,000 to build, and you have another 30-year-old home on the market with the same bed and bath count, that's going to be, at this point, almost the same fucking price.
Yeah.
Because it's available now. And then it just drives it drives the whole fucking market up. Yeah. Like when you have used product and the new product is increasing dramatically because of how much it costs to produce, that's what's actually causing the uprise of existing home values as well as rent. When you have homes that cost $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 now to buy, what do you want people to do? Rent it for $1,000?
Yeah,
it's not gonna. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you'd go out of business.
You would go out of business, and then what? What's the option there?
There is none. You'd be homeless.
So the one thing that I have, and I've talked to you about this, the one thing that I am a little bit concerned with in our country is pricing is kind of getting a little bit crazy.
It's out of control.
It's getting out of control. Okay. And even for, I know Windsor's still relatively inexpensive when you actually zoom out, but where it's heading, I don't know when it's going to stop. I would have thought, you and I have talked. I would have thought it would have stopped fucking way long ago. But where it's headed, like, are we going to see $700,000 average price? So if we start seeing $700,000 average price, just say, for example, because I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. What's the average price right now? $550?
$550. Yeah.
So it's $550 right now. I would have thought, what was it last year? $400?
$400, yeah.
So, okay, so we only have another $150 to go. It will hit $700.
100%. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Really. So if it hits $700,000, what are you going to need in terms of rent to cover that? What would you need?
Oh, yeah. As an investor, like you're
$5,000 a month?
You're probably not. Yeah, I don't even know.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you're getting into a scenario where people aren't going to be able to rent homes. So then what? The government, because we're in a socialist scenario here. Now this is getting a little bit extreme because now we're talking about how are we going to take advantage of socialist policies in order to take advantage of the real estate market. But can it go too far is what we're talking about. And that's my concern now, where if you continue to buy real estate at these exorbitant prices, is the government going to push down on landlords and cap us for what we can charge in rent and impose rent control? Because it's not like it hasn't happened in society before. It fucking exists.
Definitely.
So what will happen at that point? Because we're not gonna have a scenario where we can charge $5,000 for a $700,000 home, because that's what would be needed. Maybe even more. Like you might even need more for that price tag of a home. You actually might need more, because in Windsor, taxes on a $500,000 or a $700,000 home is what? Fucking
$5,000,
in Windsor,
$7,000, yeah.
more than that.
Yeah.
More than that.
A new one, specifically. They phase in whatever.
Okay,
but still, it's going to be high.
Like, it's going to be like fucking $10,000.
Yeah, it can,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So what are we talking about here?
My biggest fear for the Canadian real estate market is the government. I'm afraid of the government because they don't know business. They don't understand the housing market. That's why they've screwed this up so bad. They're not businessmen in suits. They're politicians.
Exactly. They have no fucking experience.
They have no real world experience. They've been lifelong politicians in general. So they put in policies that they don't understand the consequences of. And if they do something like that, say if they limit landlords' ability to charge more rent, well, like we're going to go somewhere else. Yeah. And then you're going to have like prices will keep going up. That's not going to fix prices because there's still too many qualified buyers and too many immigrants and not enough supply, and building costs are too high. But you're not going to have enough supply for people to live in. Yeah. And then what's the government going to do? Build housing? They can't build, manage, and affordable housing. The government can't manage even my old job. They couldn't, whatever, let alone a housing system, right? So there really is no fix to this. I'm afraid of them just doing something crazy. I know, right? Which they historically have done.
Yeah. And remember we were talking about this? I remember we were talking about this in my office, and I was on the fucking phone with you, and I was like, I am worried about the government coming in and restricting rent. Or putting a rent ceiling on.
Yeah, but let's say they do that, right? Like, let's say the stuff that I own now, I'm cash flow positive on everything. Let's say they cap, where are they going to cap me at what price, right? Like, they can't cap me below what I'm getting now. Like, I think it would be some sort of, I don't know.
Well, I'm not talking about now. Like,
the stuff that I own now.
The stuff that we own now is different. Like, I'm talking about,
in the future.
Well, I don't know. Like, is it really in the future? Like, at the end of the day, like, okay, think about how far we've come. This is my argument here. If people want to argue me and say, no, Dan, that'll never fucking happen. This is my argument. Do you remember last March? What the fuck happened? We're now in April, and look at where we are now. We're on fucking lockdown where we got a curfew. Do we have a curfew?
Pretty sure.
Do we have a curfew, Dave?
I don't know, either curfew or interprovincial travel restrictions.
Knows? I'm sure we do.
They can enhance police powers.
Police can pull you over for fucking whoever knows what, if they want, for no reason. We can't. They're restricting travel in between provinces.
They've limited what you can buy at the store.
Yeah. Now you can't even buy shit at the store. So they're shutting down non-essential fucking construction. So if someone's going to be like, oh, they'll never restrict, they'll never put rent control in place. Really? Are you fucking sure? Because look at what they're doing now. Definitely. Is that really out of the realm of possibility? Like, look at seriously, like, let's fucking think about that for a second. My counter to that is not that they wouldn't do it. They're capable of anything.
Oh, fucking right. They're capable of anything. So don't get me wrong. My point would be if they did that, it wouldn't fix the problem. No. It would actually potentially make it worse in terms of housing prices and whatever. I don't know how that plays out. And I don't know what I would do as an investor myself.
So let's think about this, because I actually think it's fucking coming, to be quite honest. Because like, look at, okay, so we're sitting at 550 right now for the average home price in Windsor, which is fucking outrageous. Number one, which is crazy because 10 years ago I remember buying shit for like, I don't know, 50 grand. So we're here now. Last year was 400. Okay. This year's 550. Is it that crazy to think we're going to be at $750,000 in a year or two? No, we're going to be there. Yeah, we're more than likely going to be there. So how many people can actually afford call it $4,000 in rent? Because a $750,000 home will require that much in rent. So how many people can actually afford? It's not an option. Like, yeah, for sure. Well,
here's what happens typically. I've seen this play out, right? Yeah, you take that $700,000 home and you turn it into 2 units and you charge $2,200 a unit or something like that, right? Sure. Like, investors will adapt. They'll add an auxiliary dwelling unit. Because you're right. There's nobody that can afford that.
I get it. But there's going to be,
is there a tipping point?
Then what happens? So you've got a neighborhood that has $750,000 homes. There's bylaws now. You can't fucking do that shit. Because that exists.
Yeah. Well, right now across Ontario, any single family neighborhood, you can add an auxiliary dwelling unit. Like, that's generally the rule because they understand.
You couldn't do it in my old neighborhood.
Now, yeah, you're right, man. I don't know what the government's to do. What if this universal basic income is what if we take the other side? What if that's to say, hey, this will help you pay your rent? What if? Right?
Maybe.
You're going to get a check regardless.
But here's my problem. They're so gung-ho about taking the wealthy people out and taxing them.
They're not. I think here's my thing. They talk like they are, but are they really?
I don't think they are at all, actually, because they all want their fucking cronies. All
exactly.
They're all in bed with their cronies. So they're not going to do that. But nonetheless, it's happened in other countries. Mm-hmm. So are we that far from those other countries at this point with what's going on?
So what I'm trying to do here is I understand both extremes, right? Mm-hmm. You could go to the extreme, the market crashes and everybody loses everything, which I think we're far away from that. And you can go to the other extreme where the government just comes in with this heavy hand, seizes everybody's property and whatever. Mm-hmm. Like that's the two extremes that I struggle with. And then I try to say, okay, well, what's most likely here? It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think rent control and supplemental income. That's what I think.
I think that's definitely possible. I haven't heard any platform talk about rent control.
I don't know. But from my perspective, it's not like rent control doesn't exist. Mm. You know what I mean?
Well, we already have a rent control in terms of how much you can raise your rents. But
100%, we have that. And there's other cities where there is rent control.
In Canada?
I don't know about Canada, but in the US, it exists for sure.
I see.
Right? So New York, California, right, Dave? Like there's rent control all over there. Yeah, in some areas they have like rent control areas.
Yeah,
so
definitely in the realm of possibilities.
So I don't know. Obviously, we're not politicians. We don't fucking play that game.
Now,
but
yeah, and if they do that though, like it's not going to help anything. It won't actually fix anything. It actually might make it worse. Usually, what the government does when they have socialist ideas makes things worse. Mm-hmm. They want to fix inequality. It actually makes things more unequal. They want to tax the rich. It actually ends up making the rich richer. They just find ways to innovate. They just do this, that, move their headquarters to here, set up another corp, and they make more money. Mm-hmm. They want to give universal handouts and close the income gap. It just makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. Like it's usually backwards. So I'm trying not to fear the socialist policies because whatever they do, it's going to find money will generally find its way to entrepreneurial people.
So what you do is you get into businesses and you get into, if you want to call them investments or whatever, that are capable of taking advantage of things. So I'll give you
anything.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So obviously one of my main businesses is a supplement game. It's heavily controlled by the government. That's what I like.
Good point.
I like it.
High barriers to entry.
High barriers to entry. The cannabis market, extremely high barriers to entry, controlled by the government. The real estate market, to some extent, controlled by the government. Fairly high barriers to entry. Not. You know what? Not really.
In Ontario,
it's getting there.
No, it's there, bro. Like, look at the building code, environmental study, this study, that study, this permit, this permit, expensive. $50,000 fee for a single family home permit in Windsor. This permit, that fee, this facade fee, rent controls. Like, it's freaking. They've created.
You're right.
Their own monster.
Yeah, like it is there. Yeah. It is there. You want to build a home, you got to fucking get your license. This, and that. Like, it's not good enough.
Yeah. So, but that's a great point. You find most people would go the opposite. Oh, there's too many barriers to entry. I'm not going to do that.
I specifically looked for businesses.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that to me. I'm like, you know what? My thinking, because I'm not as entrepreneurial as you, was the opposite. I'd rather find something with low barriers. But you're right, man. It's the high barrier.
It reduces competition.
Yeah.
So I want to be in. Because I consider myself a good entrepreneur. I want to be in businesses that I have less competition, so I can like really fucking spread my wings.
Great point.
So it is tougher, and you got to deal with a lot of horse shit. But at the end of the day, when you can take advantage of scenarios like that.
Yeah, and I wonder if you were in a less restrictive environment, like, I don't know, maybe let's just take the US or something in general, and you were trying to start your protein business down there. There's probably a lot more competition. Not that you wouldn't be successful.
There is, for sure.
But it's also a bigger market, right? So it's a weird thing, but but when you're limited here in your competition, that's what drives prices up. Keeps quality down.
Capitalistic mindsets in countries or policies. It reduces competition, or it increases competition, reduces prices, and increases quality.
Big time.
That's it.
It has no choice.
So
free market.
Yeah, it's a free. The free market will naturally create that type of environment.
Now, the opposite to that is
socialist market.
Less competition, increased prices, lower quality of service. And look at all the oligopolies in Canada, and you'll understand exactly what we're talking about.
So two prime examples is healthcare and education.
Bingo.
How the fuck do we constantly put so much money into our healthcare and education system, and it's still so shit?
It's a disaster.
Like, how the fuck is that? That's a prime example of when you have a scenario that is controlled by the government, and not free markets or, you know, whatever, man. Like maybe it's a hybrid. Maybe you have, I don't know what the right answer is, but at the end of the day, those are two good examples of billions of money dumped into two sectors that are constantly shit.
Constantly understaffed, constantly underfunded, constantly in a crisis. For the past, they're talking about, oh, the virus has created this hospital crisis. No, it hasn't. Look at the past 20 years. We've been hearing about this every year. I went back 20 years. I read articles from every year saying that we're at the brink. We're at the brink. Flu season put us on the brink. Our hospital capacity is at 98%. Or 105% every year from 2000 to 2020. Is that right? I read about this. Yes.
Interesting.
And now they're blaming the virus. No, it's not. It's the poor healthcare system.
Yeah.
Now you can go to the other extreme in the US. I think the US is too far as well. And I'm not providing a solution here. I don't know, but you just have to understand the effects of socialist policies because then as an entrepreneur you can take advantage of them. I think that's our only point, but it does degrade service. Like, go to the doctor right now. And you know, the last couple of times I went, there's 40 people in the lobby and I'm in and out. The doctor's rushed. His quality of service isn't as important as rifling people through because they get paid by how many people they see, not by quality. So what do you think their goal is? Pump as many people through. Now they also have high overhead, so they almost have to, right? Like to run a successful business. So and then my dad has.
The problem is it doesn't run like a business. That's the problem.
Exactly, because a business would be based on quality, time, customer service,
exactly,
building that up slowly over time,
and it would increase competition. You'd have more hospitals. You'd have more capable doctors, capable staff,
and that's why a private healthcare system, although it is flawed, don't get me wrong, right? If I get a broken leg and it can bankrupt my family, that's a problem. And if I don't have insurance, that's a problem. Whatever. My point here is to understand, people praise our socialist healthcare system, but there are massive cracks and massive flaws. My dad had, a heart attack a few years ago, whatever, needed triple bypass. They took him over to Detroit. He had a team of doctors and nurses dedicated to him, dedicated for 3 days. And then he went to, I think London to have the surgery. And while he was recovering, he's in a room with 3 people. And the person next to him is moaning throughout the night, and his chest was just cut open, and that's the level of service. And somebody comes in once every couple hours to check on him, and it's just a total difference. Now, I think I'm not criticizing either system. What I'm saying is people look at our system as great, and they don't understand the other side and how the quality of service has degenerated significantly because of these policies.
When you have a scenario where the person paying is not getting the benefit, that's the issue.
So
you have
true.
a scenario where someone's going into, say you have a scenario where you have food stamps, or you have, the education system, or you have healthcare. The person getting that benefit, when it's not the one paying, the person offering the good or service, what do? They don't give a fuck. They don't care. They jack the price up. So the quality is shit for the price you're paying all the time.
End of story.
That's the problem. When the person getting the benefit is not the one paying, you have a fucked up scenario. Yeah. And I don't know what the right answer for all this is, but I know it ain't government control.
True.
Because it's clearly been this way for a long time, and they can't get it fucking right.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. Again, we're not proposing solutions, but if you can understand the contrasts, then you can understand how the society and the economy of those particular places or states or countries or provinces work. Then you can come in with different mentalities and take advantage of them.
I'll give you an example. So as a Canadian, we have healthcare, right? Free, here's another thing too. We don't have free healthcare.
It ain't free.
Okay. We pay fucking 13% tax on every motherfucking thing we buy
heavy
here.
Income tax.
Okay? Yeah,
capital
exactly.
Gains and everything else.
Capital gains tax, all that bullshit. You guys over in the US, when you move property into another property, you get that 1031 exchange here. We're not getting that shit. We're getting taxed up our ass for when we sell property. Okay. So we don't pay, we're paying for our healthcare. Okay. So it's just
indirect. So we don't know.
Indirect. So we don't, so it's, people that don't understand will be like, oh, it's free healthcare. It's not free healthcare. We pay for it.
It's a socialist healthcare system.
So I totally lost my fucking train of thought.
Well, you're comparing it to the US, right?
What was I going to compare? I totally lost my train of thought here.
I don't know, maybe the US healthcare system?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll give you. So again, me as a Canadian, our company, we get healthcare. Okay, healthcare is an option. Okay, but I actually pay extra for myself and my family and everybody, extra to go to the States. Really, should something happen. Fucking right I do. Because the best doctors are not here.
No, they're
why
not.
would they be here?
They wouldn't.
They're not going to be here.
You're not capped in how much you can make in the States.
Exactly.
Right? If you want to work, and this is the thing as well, there's a direct correlation. I used to work in a socialist environment, right? Yeah, I worked for the federal government. You're not paid based on your work ethic or your entrepreneurship or your innovative thinking. You are paid to show up. And you're paid the same as everybody else. So what do you think happens? You think people rise up? No, they fall to an equal level of basically non-productivity.
Exactly.
You fall, you don't rise. Yeah. Now you put me in a capitalist system, I work harder than anybody now. Why? Because I get paid in proportion to how hard I work. You get paid and my level of skill and my level of innovation and my level of whatever, right? I get paid based on performance. So I work way harder and it's more satisfying.
Yeah.
And I don't mind going to work. I don't mind working now because like I see the results. Man, I'm telling you, you socialize a society, you socialize anything and it will degenerate. It will degenerate. Not to say that you can't take advantage of it as an investor, you can, but the system itself will degenerate.
Why the fuck would anybody want to work hard?
You wouldn't. Oh, here's your universal basic income.
I see it. I see it all the time at work. You know how hard it was when all this stuff started popping off last year around this time in spring. I couldn't get anybody to work.
Yeah, I believe it, man.
It was legitimately impossible.
Because they're getting handouts. They're getting served, right?
Why would anybody come to work? And then what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to increase the wages like exorbitantly so that I can actually get people to work? What's going to happen to the cost of our product? What's going to happen to the cost of everything? What do you think? What do people think is going to happen when you start introducing this universal basic income? People think it's great. Are you fucking kidding me? You know how much money you're going to be paying for shit?
You know, even as an investor, like I'm worried. Like I'm like, what's the next step here? What's the end game here? Because this isn't about, a lot of this stuff doesn't seem to be about the virus to me.
No.
It just, you know, when Justin Trudeau got up there and said, hey, this is an opportunity to fix social inequality, environmental challenges, and this and that, whatever. I'm like,
what was his ending point? To accomplish the 2030. What was it?
Oh, maybe the environmental thing.
No. It was the.
Well, he did mention a reset.
Yeah, the reset. Like a 2030 reset.
Yeah, there's a reset.
Like now, how he literally like.
We're in
I don't understand.
Deadly pandemic. Yeah, and you're talking about
you're spinning it
social
as a
inequality and climate change.
And and what he's talking about in that literally on the news, fucking primetime TV news. He's literally spinning the pandemic as a fucking opportunity. What?
And an opportunity to address social inequality and climate change. Hold on here. There's
literally to accomplish our 2030 fucking agenda.
Hundreds of thousands and millions of people across the world are apparently dying from this virus. And you're talking about climate change. Like so my point here is that there's agendas being pushed and they're using this virus to push those agendas that have nothing to do with the virus. I'm not saying anything against the virus. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that they're using it to push other agendas that have nothing to do with the virus, and they're using the virus to do it. And if you don't see that, if you don't see what's happening, you know, you're willfully blind, in my opinion. If you're unwilling to see it, you don't want to admit it.
Our prime minister literally went on TV and said it.
Yeah.
Like literally. Like, what more do you need? Like, I don't understand. And like, what's crazy to me is like, nobody squawked at it.
Nobody. Yeah.
Like it was just like he came out, said it, and it was just done. And I'm sitting there like,
hold on, did that just
was this actually him or was this like some fucking funny stunt double?
Yeah, man.
People, like I couldn't even believe that was like. I was like, oh my God, that's not even him. That's for sure. This is like some sort of, someone made a video fucking, the face fucking double video app that you can like put your face on someone else. I'm like, oh, somebody did something funny with his face. It's not even him.
There's no way he would.
And it was like fucking him on CBS or whatever.
The majority ate it up, right? They said, oh yeah, like he's just a great guy. And another thing too, like it's not hard to even with Doug Ford, right? Like he came out and literally said, if I go against what the health minister tells me, that's political suicide. Is that what you might as well tie a noose around your neck and jump off the bridge. It's basically that's literally what he said. Like you can look it up. You can't go against your party. You can't go against the powers that be politically, or you're done. So Doug Ford came out and said all these things. Oh, Ontario's open for business. I'm for the people. I'm this, I'm that. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's in there now and he understands, shoot, if I go against those people, I'm out.
What did our license plates say? The new ones, the blue ones that had like those reflective issues.
I don't know. Open for business?
I'm pretty sure it said fucking open for business.
Boy.
Did they change it now?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they
changed the blue plates.
Yeah, they sure as fuck should they should change it to closed for business. Number one. They should like just closed. Like they should just be like Ontario closed.
Yeah.
Like that's what they should do.
And I think my point of that debate was it's not hard to like get the political party to fall in line. It only takes one person at the top to basically get everybody in line. Like even on the media, you think the media is, has an unbiased view of things.
Oh.
If somebody is any sort of position of power, whether entrepreneurial or government, goes on the news and says anything that dissents from the general public opinion, which is from the top, Justin Trudeau, that the virus is deadly and that masks are important and that we shouldn't open the economy and that climate change isn't. If you try to go against that narrative on TV, you will be canceled.
Oh, to
you
the
will
fullest.
be canceled.
Yeah.
If you or I say something on Facebook, we'll be canceled. There is no more dissenting opinion.
No, I get warnings all the time on Facebook. On Facebook,
that doesn't surprise me.
No, you know what I mean. Like it's crazy. Like we don't live in a free society anymore. But we don't even live in Canada anymore. This is crazy. I don't even recognize our own country anymore.
Same, man. But people think, oh, well, there's no way that this is like some sort of big thing and everybody's just on board. It doesn't take everybody to be on board. No. It just takes the people at the top to get everybody in line politically. And again, I worked in this environment where you don't rise to be a manager or the chief unless you politically fall in line and do what they tell you. And if you don't, you're out. And if you dissent, if you think freely, you're out. You're in a box.
I see.
And people need to understand politically that that's the nature of the game. And you can't trust what those people are telling you. What they're saying on TV is under duress. Everything those politicians say is under duress. Duress for their political job and duress for their family's security and life and duress from being canceled from society. So I'm not saying everything that they say is wrong or false, but you have to, like, you know, if I'm a cop and I put a gun to somebody's head and say, you better confess to this murder, I'm going to shoot you in the head. If they say, yeah, I did it, that confession is thrown out because it was under duress. Everything these politicians are saying, in my opinion, is under duress. And I can no longer distinguish what's real and what's not. I can no longer tell if that person actually believes that or not, or if they're just falling in line. We're all under duress.
Yeah.
Even the little man on Facebook is under duress.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a weird time, man.
It really
it's a weird time.
It's a super weird time.
Yeah. This is the scariest time, even as an investor. I still think investors, the rich will always get rich in any society. Even in a 100% socialist society, there's very wealthy people. There's very wealthy business owners and property owners. Probably more wealthy than even in capitalist societies.
So what are you actually, like you've mentioned a few times, like this is a scary time and you're actually worried. What are you actually worried about?
Just the government doing some crazy stuff. I'm more worried about my freedom than I am like investing. Like I think, real estate's, here's the thing, if the government goes to some extreme and confiscates all our property, I've heard grumblings of that. First of all, I think it's too extreme. I don't think they can do that. You're going to confiscate everybody's property. There's too many wealthy, powerful people that will not let that happen, in my opinion. So I think that's too extreme. So, but that is my fear, that they just do something insanely crazy. But
they do some backdoor deal with like the big dogs. Who knows? Here's my perspective. A lot of real estate moguls, they don't just like own real estate and that's it. There's a lot of funds out there that only owns real estate and that's their business. But a lot of people that like are individuals and corporate, they actually own something else. They actually own another business. And
6, 7 streams of income.
Exactly. And real estate ends up turning into that's exactly what I did. I owned a business. Actually I started real estate first, but I grew my portfolio while also owning, a couple businesses, right? So who knows, man? Like at the end of the day, like you think that might be too extreme? Like again, I'm being devil's advocate.
If they confiscate everybody's property, it would be a nightmare.
I agree.
It would be like society would degenerate to zombie land.
Oh yeah.
Like there would be homelessness.
But I don't think that they would just go and confiscate property. They're going to do something in order to wrap it up in some fucked up way.
But this is my theory, though. They're going to do that for the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
that's my theory. Yeah. Right? I think
if you can't if you can't do something, if you're not capable of like holding your property and paying for it, they'll end up they'll come in and save you like they bailed out like the auto industry or done whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they'll do. I don't think
a broad confiscation.
No.
It's too far.
About.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at is, say for example, you have a scenario where it's some guy owns a business and it's worth 100 million or it's worth $1 billion. And let's be honest, the corporate executives at the very, very fucking top level, they're liberal. Let's be honest. Like it's not like some fucking secret that they're not liberal. Like let's be honest.
A lot of times.
A lot of times they are. So who's to say that they just won't like supplement something with something else? Like, hey, okay, you know what? This is happening, but instead we're going to give you a massive fucking tax break to supplement what's actually happening on the other end.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm just saying like, and this is my argument. Like this is crazy talk. Like what we're talking about, this is fucking crazy. Okay,
well, we just don't know, man. But
that's the problem. But my argument is what's happening now is crazy.
Well, if we said what's happening now a year ago, we would have sounded crazy.
I would have said you're a fucking maniac.
Now here's
Scott.
the thing: we did.
I know.
You and I have been talking, and a lot of people,
not
just us. We've been saying like there's some other stuff going on here. There's an agenda being pushed.
Yeah.
We've seen it. Now it's happening and other people are like, oh, wow, maybe those guys were right.
Mm-hmm.
Now what we're trying to do is say, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to get here. What's next? We're trying to think about what's next. And in a way we don't know, but we're trying to like theorize and plan for it and take advantage of it as investors, right? And with a balanced like approach.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is, what do we do? I'm still a buyer of cash flowing real estate.
Yeah, of course.
100%.
Yeah.
Cash flowing.
Mm-hmm.
Cash flowing. I think this crisis is going to get worse. I think the government will do some crazy stuff, but it will affect the lower end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever allow mass homelessness. I don't think the middle class will ever disappear into some whatever disastrous society of homelessness living under a bridge. They're going to step in. Historically speaking, the Canadian government has stepped in to support people to make their payments. They don't really go after the rich. They go after the poor and middle class. They go after and they support them while the rich get richer. That's my general thesis of what's going to happen. Yeah. Also, I want to diversify because this, when we see, I want to go to Florida. I want to go to Texas. I want to invest in those free states, I'll call them. Yeah. Although I think you're right, they will eventually become less and less free, but that's a long ways away because the people in those states are very red. Although it is tilting. Yeah. And it will disappear over time, but it's still such a long ways away. Like it's a decade away. So you can make a lot of money in that decade.
I'm very curious to see if it's not though. I'm very curious to see what, like, again, I think we could probably even pull up a graph that shows every single election year in the US, how far Texas has moved blue on a percentage basis. And we're like, they're right there. Yeah. Like, so I'm very curious to see but one issue that I am seeing is the Biden administration seems like they're fucking up so much right now that it might actually pull back, right? Because I don't know. It's really odd to see this going on right now. No, because they're going to do the same thing. They're going to do a bunch of socialist policies that get the vote and they're going to allow a bunch of immigration. There you go. Yeah. I don't think, I think the liberals are going to be in power for maybe forever. And I think the Democrats will be as well in the US. And, here's the thing. We're 90-10 here. We're 90-10 here. So even if it's 59-41, 51-49, sorry, in Texas, it's still better. Like it's still more capitalist and more freedom-minded until it gets way out of whack, which is probably inevitable. Yeah, with the powers that be and this whatever agenda is being pushed. And I was talking to you about this the other day, or what was it, yesterday or the day before, whatever. That there might be a scenario where like even like maybe not something like as extreme as like New York City or New York real estate or LA real estate or whatever. Even though when you actually look at their real estate now, it looks like it's on fucking sale right now because who the fuck wants to buy that right now? But I do like the blue states over there that are kind of more like almost like a swing state where you don't really know if they're going blue, red. It's a nice mix. So I feel like because they're going to be imposing these policies that will limited supply, increase demand. And increase demand and allow real estate to increase heavily in value over there in those particular states. Whereas it might take a little bit longer. Or the migration and capitalistic view might also elevate the real estate values at the same rate as restrictions. So non-restrictions and restrictions might actually increase at the same rate.
I think that's
it's a really odd way to think of it. So, and then potentially if all this dust settles, if you're going into those states that are, you know, on sale right now, potentially, are you getting in at a value where you can hedge your bets in 5 years where that particular property is going to, you know, increase in value exponentially because of the value that you're paying today.
And
I don't
mitigate
know.
your risk and make sure you're nicely cash flow positive.
Exactly.
And maybe buy below the median of that state and whatever, right? Like, you can invest anywhere. It's not like, oh, I'm only investing in Florida or Texas.
Yeah.
But there are some very powerful trends at play here, and they're all, and ideally, right, we've talked about two extremes, liberal and conservative, or capitalist and socialist. Ideally, like as an investor, I'm not even here to talk politics. We're trying to spin everything like so you can understand and then take advantage of as an investor. Ideally, as an investor, it's a nice mix. You want capital, and that's what Canada has historically been, although I think we're swinging too far. It's been a nice mix of capitalism and socialism. Yeah. And that's why our real estate prices have risen the most, because we've had that mix. Now I'm fearing that we're going too socialist.
Well, maybe it's been a scenario of like the last 10 years where we've just gone over the last 10 years too socialist. Or it's been setting the stage.
Absolutely.
It's been setting the stage.
Yeah. This isn't just this year. No. It's been a swing here. Yeah. This is the socialist side. Yeah. And then it went 51, 49. Yeah. And then now it's like 60, and now it's 70. And then this pandemic is pushing it to a level that I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's getting weird.
Even as an investor, I'm not it's overly comfortable with what's happening right now.
It's getting weird. So
definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that I take this is, Southwestern Ontario, for me, because I've been doing this for a long time, I'm getting into more heavy value add projects where I'm developing, I'm changing commercial to residential. I've bought in some land. I've gotten into different types of real estate, like industrial, things like that, because
got to make stuff.
Yeah, you still got to make stuff, and you got to make stuff somewhere. So I've done that. And then I've also pivoted to the US for these reasons that we're talking about.
And me personally, cash flowing real estate. Yeah. Cash flow positive. There's not enough of it. Socialist policies will continue to increase the crisis problems. And I want to own cash flowing real estate for that margin of safety. And I think that's, I don't know, man, this was a good talk though. This is super interesting. I got to wrap up though.
Yeah, it's good.
Trigger.